So today I would like to talk a little bit about chess strategy. So in the last video, in the last lesson that I shared, it was more focused on tactics. And today, as a complement to tactics, I want to talk about strategy. Now, don't forget, 90% of chess is not strategy or tactics. 90% of chess is luck. Like 10% is tactics, and strategy is like 0% is strategy. But a lot of the chess videos talk about chess strategy, so I figured I would make a chess strategy video. And the format is going to be the same as all the other videos, which is as soon as I get a speed chess game on Lichess, I'll talk about some of the concepts, the strategy concepts, based on that game. But it seems like at the moment it was kind of hard to get a game, but luckily I have a chess partner now. So I am going to do the usual speed chess opening that I do, which is like the Queen's opening. And basically, the point of this strategy that I want to talk about is how do we understand the intentions of a pawn? And actually already, if you guys want to pause your video for a minute for the first challenge of the lesson, is try to figure out which pawn am I looking at on the screen right now. So there's a lot of pawns. Try to guess which pawn, what is the pawn that I'm looking at right now. Okay, so the pawn that I'm looking at is actually this pawn. There's no reason why I'm looking at it. I just wanted to give you guys like an opening, like a challenge. Like the reason I looked at this pawn had nothing to do with the game, okay? I just was looking at that particular pawn, and I wanted you guys to start out like as a warm-up for today's lesson. I really wanted you guys to like have that as your first challenge today. So anyway, pawns are really, really important in chess, okay? So basically a pawn, you could see already on the board, there's many different pawns. There's white pawns and there's black pawns. And the reason they're so important is because a pawn, the goal of the pawn is to go forward, okay? And then when it gets to the end of the board, it can become any other, like after your pawn gets to the end of the board, it can become any other piece. It could usually becomes a queen, but sometimes it can become a rook or a horse. And to be honest, I don't know if this has ever happened in the history of chess, but a pawn could actually probably become another pawn when it gets to the end of the board, believe it or not. I don't know if that's technically ever happened before, but in my next game, and this is another challenge for you guys, and in your next game, if your pawn manages to get all the way to the top of the board, see if you can actually choose that pawn becomes another pawn. Just see if that's possible. I don't know if that's possible, but that would be something interesting. You know, in chess, they always say you should try different things. Like chess is a creative game, so see if you can try to do that. Okay, anyways, so far right now, this is just standard opening. Right now, I don't really know right now the intentions of all of the pawns on the board, but I can tell you right now what's happening with the pawns is this pawn is facing this pawn. And now when pawns are like this, neither pawn can make progress unless something happens on the sides of the pawns, and then they can advance sideways and keep capturing sideways until they get to the end of the board. So in any case, that's kind of the basics of the pawn movements. One thing you guys should always try to pay attention to is the pawn, something called the pawn structure, okay? And this is something I learned very recently on the internet. Pawn structure just means like how the pawns are on the board. And right now, you could see this is called a pawn chain. I have a really healthy pawn chain here. And they also have a pawn chain going the other way. Usually the pawn chains are going to be going across from each other. And one thing that's really important is the bishops want to be usually outside of the pawn chains. And right now, this bishop is doing really well. It has many squares that it can go. But this bishop currently is behind the pawn chain. And even though we're not always going to know like the intentions of every single pawn on the board, you better be sure that a pawn's general intention is to go forward and to capture everything that's in its way. So that's kind of why, I don't know if you guys remember, but a while back when I moved this pawn up, that's why this bishop like went backwards, because this pawn, the intention of this pawn was definitely to kick this bishop. Okay, so anyways, at this moment, you know, I think I'm still just going to keep developing my pieces. Now, and this is a new opening that I'm trying out. And in this opening, this bishop has to go into the square, but right now it can't because this other bishop is protecting that square. So I'm going to do what's called a waiting move. Because basically my goal right now is to develop this bishop into this square. But because I can't do that, so as you know, I only know one opening. And in this opening, I know that this bishop has to go here. It has to come here. But because I can't do that, I have to do a waiting move until this bishop goes away. Then I can finally finish developing this bishop. So at the moment, you know, and I also have to kind of look for what are all the different waiting moves I can do. And the waiting move I'm thinking about is putting my horse here. And the reason that's a waiting move is because I don't have, like, it's not like I have some sort of plan, like after that where the horse is gonna go, but it's a legal, at least it's a move that's legal in chess. Another idea I have is the queen can come here and like check the king and attack this bishop. But I learned in another game that doesn't work because actually this horse usually comes here and then it just protects this bishop, and like nothing useful really happens from that. But I think I'm still gonna, sometimes the thing about chess is like the more scary your moves are, like the more checks you can give, the more aggressive you can be, the more the opponent usually would get flustered and sometimes they make a mistake. Like in this case, I already knew they were gonna put the horse here, but you know, at least I kind of forced them to do that with the queen move. So now I'm gonna go back to my original plan and do a waiting move with this horse, because basically I'm just waiting. At this point, I'm just waiting for this square to open up for my bishop so that it can kick this other bishop. But anyway, back to the lesson. So the point of today's lesson is let's try to understand the intentions of all of the pawns on the board. So the main pawn that we're going to focus on right now is this pawn, because what are this pawn's intentions? Like, if you guys want to pause the video and take out a pen and paper, and for this challenge on pen and paper, try to write down in your own words, what are the intentions of this pawn? What are its intentions? Okay, well, if you guys wrote down the intentions are to capture this queen, that's correct. This pawn definitely wants to take my queen. And I don't know, like, you just learn that from experience. Basically, a pawn is always going to capture whatever it can capture. So in this current situation, this move is a little bit annoying because now, you know, I can't take this bishop because of this horse. And if I move my queen, basically then I don't have this. Right now my queen has a really nice pin on the horse, but you know, I'm not really sure that pin is going to hold. But one thing I could do is try to capture this pawn. I have to kind of make sure there's no danger to that, but I don't really, it seems like there's not really anything protecting this pawn at the moment. I don't think anything is protecting this pawn. So, you know, I mean, this pawn had very good intentions. But now it's gone. So that's one pawn down. Many, many, many pawns still left to go. So anyways, the opponent now is waiting. They're probably like shocked. Like I mentioned a lot in my other videos, try to shock your opponent because, you know, if you do a surprising move like that pawn capture I just did, probably it's going to throw them off. And then they're going to have to like think a little bit about their situation. So now, you know, now they castled. And by the way, this means now there's no pin. There's no pin. And actually, if you guys don't remember what a pin was, in my other video, I already explained how to identify what a pin is. And a pin just means you can't move something because it's like behind another piece. So now there's no pin on this horse. And I think, you know, honestly, I think my best chances right now is going to be to capture one horse with another horse. So don't forget, they do have another horse protecting that piece. So, you know, it's going to be a trade. It's going to be a trade, which is fine. So now I have to be very careful, okay? Because always in these kind of situations, I get like honestly kind of stressed because this queen, it's like a little too active at the moment. Like, I don't like having a queen that's like, you know, that's just like in the middle of the board so early in the game. And honestly, at the moment, it's just a little too active. So I either have to retreat the queen or capture this horse again. Now, I have to warn you guys that whenever you capture something with a queen, like always take a look on the board and make sure like, are you going to drop the queen? Because it's really easy to capture something and then something captures back your queen and it's gone. But personally, I don't see anything protecting this horse. So that was risky. That was definitely risky what I just did. But, you know, you have to like take risks in chess and just hope that was like the best thing to do. I mean, the best thing to do is just to do something and then hope that was the best to do. So anyway, now they've retreated their bishop. By the way, I don't know why they did that, to be honest, because there's not really much this bishop can do because of my pawns. And the intentions of my pawns right now are just to like block this bishop as much as possible. So let's see. I have to figure out. So remember that like the reason we started this whole thing, like the reason this whole situation even started is because my initial goal is to get my bishop here. But by the way, I still can't do that because of this bishop. So this looks like a very difficult position because I can't develop my bishop. And, you know, I don't know. It's hard to tell what to do in a position like this. So I think maybe I'm going to do another waiting move. And the purpose of this waiting move is going to be, honestly, to try to get my queen to safety. Because personally, I have this intuition right now that my queen is not safe. Like, I just feel like my queen is not very safe at the moment. Or alternatively, I could develop my bishop all the way to here. But if I do that, they're just going to kick it with this pawn, and the intentions of this pawn not going to be very good for my progress here. So I think what I am going to do is I'm going to retreat my queen. And by the way, you guys, there's not that many places to retreat my queen at the moment. So if you, I'm not even going to ask you to pause your video to figure this out, because there's literally like only this square or this square that's going to be safe for my queen. And I feel like if I move my queen here, if I put it in this square, then they're just going to kick it with this pawn. So I think I have to cut my losses and move my queen back for the time being. Now, this is not like a permanent retreat or anything, so don't worry. But for the time being, I just want to retreat as far back as possible from that area up the board. Okay, so they did this other pawn move now, and honestly, I don't know why they did that move. Like, not every pawn's intentions are going to be clear right away. But I'm still like annoyed because I want to develop my bishop so badly. Like, there's nothing I want more than to develop this bishop. And it's just not possible right now because of this bishop. So I think I'm only going to develop this bishop a little bit. I think, you know, or I could advance this horse here as another like waiting type move. You know, this bishop is the bane of my existence, because I just can't, there's nowhere for me to put my own bishop because of this bishop. I think I'm gonna go ahead though and just put it here. Honestly, I don't think that was a good move. I don't know if that was a good move, but it was just like really bugging me that I still haven't developed this bishop and I can't put it here. So sometimes in chess, you just have to do what's called like a desperado sacrifice kind of move. And that's what this was. I just honestly had no other options where to put that bishop. So in any case, now they did a queen move. I don't really know why they did that, but to be honest, half the time I don't really know why anyone does anything in chess. But now I think what I want to do now is route my horse up here, just to kind of advance my pieces and make them a little bit more active. Because I think from this position, if the horse, this is a really nice place for my horse, and then from here it can start looking at other directions. But also I have to figure out a way to dislodge this bishop, because it's getting a little bit like annoying to have this bishop still here after all these days. This bishop is still here, and now I have to watch out, because guess what this pawn is trying to do? Well, this pawn is clearly a threat to this bishop. So I think, you know, if I could do anything in the world, I would put this bishop here, which is where it's supposed to go according to the opening that I studied. But I can't do that, which is just honestly very annoying. Maybe I'll just put it here. And this way, at least I'm threatening something. I mean, sometimes in chess, like, it doesn't even matter if it's like a serious threat, but as long as you're threatening something, you're at least you're like doing something. Okay. So now I'm thinking about this waiting move and putting the horse here. Why? Because I think it gives my horse like good options in the future. Like, it gets closer to the enemy, and sometimes you know, it'll be well protected here. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and put my horse up here. Now, one thing you guys should understand about this position is that both sides currently have a bishop pair, and no sides have a horse pair. So if you guys want to pause the video, and for this third challenge, try to identify where is the only horse that's available on the board right now. I hope everyone was able to tell that this is the only horse that is in the game at the moment, which means that I don't have a horse pair, they don't have a horse pair, and now what I have to watch out for is the bishop pairs. The thing about the bishop pairs is that they can work together, and they can like right now, well, right now, this, by the way, right now, this bishop is not working very well for me because it's honestly only covering one square. And this bishop also is not really, to be honest, not doing very much because it's only covering a couple squares. But, you know, if this was an ideal situation, my bishops would be a lot more active. And a bishop pair is almost as good as a horse pair because basically it can cover the opposite diagonals on the board. So I think my next plan, unless, you know, you never know if they're going to do something like really stressful for me to deal with. But if they don't do anything like that I need to worry about, then I think my next task is going to be to free this bishop to attack more areas with this bishop. Now, I don't know how exactly that's going to work out because I don't know what the next moves are going to be. But I know for sure that currently my bishop's not very active. Okay, so this player has clearly been watching a lot of my tutorials on how to activate your king. And, you know, honestly, I'm really proud that they did this because an active king is a good, definitely a good king. And so they're like they're definitely opening some lines to their king. Now, what can I do about it? Nothing. There's nothing. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do. Do you know why? Because of this stupid bishop that's like, just honestly, if I could choose one piece to go away right now, it would be this bishop. So I think what I'm going to do is just try to scare this bishop. I feel like I should try to scare this bishop away. I hate this bishop. Okay, so this move was a good example of how I'm using my pawns to basically make progress in this game that's currently a very, very tricky position. So now the intention, so this pawn, if you guys want to pause your video and try to understand the intention of this pawn, but actually I'm just going to tell you because I don't have a lot of time anymore on the clock. The intention of this pawn is to get rid of this bishop, which is, if I had to choose the worst bishop on the planet, in the entire planet, it would be this bishop. It would honestly be this bishop. This is the worst bishop that has ever existed, okay? Now, I don't know why they moved their queen here because they can't really take my horse without dropping their queen. So, I don't know. I don't know what's happening here exactly, but I think I need to take, my goal is to get rid of this bishop. Thank God, bishop is gone forever. Forever, it's gone. Guys, I achieved one small goal. Usually in chess, I don't really achieve a lot of progress right away. But this actually feels very successful because I was able to take away their one bishop. Okay. Can't believe I was able to do that. Okay, so now I'm thinking this is a pretty good opportunity for my rook. That's just my thought process at the moment. I mean, by the way, notice that I can't castle now. And this is something I learned in another chess game, is like, if the queen is pointing this way, then this king cannot castle through a check. That's okay, though. It's okay. We can't always get, like, every single thing that we want from a chess game. So, I don't know. Because I'm ahead some material, one thing I could do is just try to keep trading pieces. So, you know, if I put my horse here, then I'm challenging both their bishop and their rook. And honestly, this bishop is not hurting anyone. And this horse is in a good place. So I don't think I really want to do that trade at the moment. So I think what I am going to do is activate my rook, pointing straight to the king, preventing their queen from coming over. I think my next plan is going to be to activate my pawns and try to get rid of their queen and stuff like that. So this pawn, not sure why they did that, but I'm guessing it's to protect their queen. But, you know, honestly, a pawn, these days, a pawn cannot protect a queen. Cannot. Anyways. I really need to do something about this rook, okay? I mean, about this bishop. Sorry, guys. Sometimes I forget what the pieces are called. This bishop has just been kind of useless in the last in the last bunch of minutes. So I think I'm going to continue with my plan and clear. I'm just going to clear this area. I know they're going to move their rook because my horse is threatening their rook. But I just want to clean up. I want to clean up this region with my horse. And after this region is cleaned up, maybe I can finally do something about this bishop here. Because honestly, I don't know. This is the most useless bishop that I've ever had, probably like in my life. Plus, once you get rid of one of their bishops, that's one less bishop to worry about, you know? Also notice this was a safe move with the horse because the horse comes here, it can always retreat back here. So like, I like moves that you can reverse very easily. So if something happens, just comes right back. No problem, no harm done at all to the horse. If it can just go back to exactly where it came from. I think my chess partner is shocked about the situation. Honestly, I don't know why they moved their rook here. Okay, I think now I need to start looking for tactics. Okay, one tactic I see is like this bishop could potentially come here because this queen is not really a threat to this pawn because the king's protecting it. But if I get my bishop here, if I get this bishop here, I have a really nice tactic with the horse. The horse can threaten the I don't know what you call those, the rooks, the rook and the king. So I'm really scared though that they're gonna put the queen here and then I'm gonna have to capture with the king. I don't know, honestly, I don't know why I'm scared of that. That's not really that scary. But right now, the tactic that I'm looking at is to take my horse, okay, this horse, and bring it here. Because look what's gonna happen if that works out. Now, if I was playing black in this position, I don't know what I would do because I don't even know what to do as white in this position, to be very honest with you. But if I was playing black, currently I would be worried about my horse, this horse tactic. So I don't know what they can really do to stop it. Because like I said, I don't even know what to do as my own color in chess. But that's just something for them. I mean, okay, I don't really know what just happened. Did I just pre-move? Did you guys see that? Like, I didn't click. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know how this happened. I'm going to be honest. I think I pre-moved and I didn't even know that I pre-moved. Like, honestly, was that a pre-move? I think it was because I didn't click anything, but the horse went in the exact place that I wanted it to go. That's fine. By the way, right now their king was in check from this bishop. Okay, so now for the love of God, I'm going to castle for the first time. By the way, don't forget this pawn is in danger. But I don't care about. Actually, no, it's not in danger. You guys, the pawn is totally fine. Bishop. Okay, I'm gonna castle. Unless there's sometimes I try to oh, thank God I could castle. Sometimes I try to castle and there's like weird checks and things, and I'm actually not allowed to like I never know when I'm allowed to castle or not. But luckily in this game, I was able to castle. Now they're activating their king a little bit more. So I don't know. I think I need to clear the center. If I had to do anything right now, it would be to clear the center. So that way, because remember this bishop, you guys, that's the bishop that currently is not doing anything useful for me. So I think if I'm understanding the position correctly, which probably I'm not, I'm going to do a pawn move here, okay? And the intention of this pawn, honestly, is to clear the area. In chess, a really big thing that happens in chess is like, if you're a little bit ahead, try to clear the area, and then it'll be a little bit better to like, at least to see where all the pieces even can go. Because sometimes when you have a lot of like things on the board, I don't know. I just want to clear the area. Guys, I don't know what's happening in this game. I don't know why the queen just went there. I get really like scared when I don't even know what's happening. But I just have to stick to the plan. And this is called opening the game, by the way. So opening the game means like opening more like lines, and usually it's the pawns. That's why the strategy today is called understanding a pawn's intentions, because it is only the pawn that can do this. It's only the pawn that can clear opening areas for the other pieces. So, okay. This is a relief because this entire game, all I've been thinking about, this bishop has just been giving me a lot of grief. I have to be careful because, you know, now this is an unprotected piece. Guys, this piece, nothing is protecting it. But it is kind of looking at this pawn, which is good. But don't forget, now that they moved their pawn, this rook is very dangerous. Okay, but now, you know, what I want to do, and this is something I've been wanting to do forever, is route. Well, actually, I think I could capture this pawn. I think I'm going to capture this pawn also. I feel like, you know, in a position like this, I'm actually not too far from checkmate to them, to the other person. But I don't know how to get there. I feel like I'm close, but there's literally no way I can get there because I don't know how to get there. You know, one idea would be like this bishop is this square, this queen can somehow come. See, they're smart. They're preventing my queen from coming here. But I'm going to capture. I don't like how they have a lot of pieces attacking this bishop. So actually, before I capture this, should I capture this or should I protect my bishop? I think I'm going to capture this. Guys, I'm feeling very greedy. I'm just feeling very greedy at the moment. But I need to watch out because this is still a hanging, what they call a hanging piece. This piece is hanging out without any protection from anyone. Now, like I was saying, if I was good at chess, probably I would know how to checkmate them. But I don't know how to do that at the moment. So just going to recapture. And I like when there's not a lot of pieces because at least, like I'm saying, it's pretty clear now what's happening. And I think what I want to do is trade, either do a rook left to protect this bishop, use this bishop to capture this pawn, or trade queens. I feel like once I trade queens, you know, once I trade queens, I feel like it'll be just easier for me. Like psychologically, it'll be easier for me if I trade queens because honestly, I cannot even tell you like how much I sweat during chess. It is the worst. Like no deodorant in the world can like like honestly, nothing, there's no deodorant that's strong enough for like what happens to me in chess. Honestly, that is the truth. All right, so now we've traded queens. Okay, now I just have to figure out how to checkmate them, but do I know how to do that? No, obviously, I have no idea how to do that. And I don't have a lot of time on the clock. I do not. Already I'm playing. Oh, you guys, they resigned. Okay. Well, thankfully, I don't have to worry about endgame in this game. Okay, well, I hope this was helpful. I know we didn't really go over a lot of pawn moves in this game, but I want to go back. I want to do a really quick game analysis to one very critical situation with pawns in this game, where a pawn's intentions were really important. And it's actually, if you guys want to pause your video right now and see if you can remember what I did in this position, try to remember because I moved a pawn. Can you guys remember which pawn I moved? Well, by the process of elimination, I couldn't have moved these two pawns because already there was something jamming them. But actually, it was this pawn, this move right here with this pawn. I think this was the winning move. Like, honestly, if I had to go back and replay this game, this is the move I would do over. I would just do this. The whole game, I would just do this because this was the winning move for sure. For sure, this pawn, the intentions of this pawn was to clear the area, and finally, for the first time in the game, activate this bishop. So anyways, I hope this video was helpful to everyone. And as you watch more games or play more games, try to remember the first thing that I said at the beginning of this video, which is when your pawn gets all the way to the end of the board, it has many options to be any other piece. It could be a queen, a horse, a bishop, etc. So when it gets to this square, see if you can actually, on the interface, have the option for the pawn to become another pawn, okay? So if you guys can figure out how to do that, to have the pawn actually become another pawn when it gets to the end, please message me because I would love to do that. Okay,